friends, to another episode of Inspire Careers Spotlight on Recruiting, the video podcast series where I interview recruiters from different recruiting firms and different organizations to talk about today's best recruiting practices, helping pull back the curtain a bit to give job seekers some insight into the world of recruiters and how best to interact with them to improve the outcome of their search. My guest today is Stephen Lutter, Talent Acquisition Manager at MassMutual, New York State. Welcome, Stephen.
Thanks for having me, Kathy. And I just want to say to any job seekers who are tuning in that you're about to land something great, and stay positive.
Well, I love that we're leading off with that because that's absolutely true. And, I know I talk about it all the time on LinkedIn, is that things are happening out there. So, Stephen, can you provide us a little bit of background on yourself, how you got into recruiting, and what type of positions you are looking to staff for right now?
Sure. So I started my professional career as an active duty Army officer, working with air defense artillery, so rockets and radar systems. So after my 4 years of active duty, I told my wife that I would move to wherever she wanted to move, and I would find work. And I found myself very underemployed and not getting a lot of traction searching for work. Initially, I was looking for project management roles, I kind of pigeonholed myself into what Army officers go through, and kind of listened to others rather than what was in my heart. And I applied for project management roles and wasn't getting a lot of traction. But the people who helped me most in my professional life, especially in Buffalo, folks like Claire Petrie, Colin Gale, recruiters. And as I was job seeking, I was like, wow, like these people don't know me from Adam, and offered their services to help me with resume prep, mock interviews, and things like that. And I said, that kind of planted the seed in my head in 2014 that, I would like to do that one day. And although I had a brief stint in recruiting for the Army, military recruiting is much different than corporate recruiting. But after a role at Horizon Health Services, where I was operations manager, again, a very typical, pigeonholed career for Army officers, like, oh, you're Army officer, great. Fix all our problems and come in and organize things. And that really wasn't me. So I finally, in November of 2020, I saw this position through AP Professionals for a recruiter from MassMutual New York State, and I went after it. And I'm glad I did, because it for the first time in my professional career, it feels as though what I'm good at and what I enjoy doing, I get to do, and I get paid to do it. So, and I truly enjoy speaking with candidates, and to answer your question about the roles that I'm hiring for, specifically financial advisors for MassMutual in our Syracuse, Buffalo, and Rochester offices.
And before I comment on that, let me, on behalf of everyone watching this, let me say thank you for your service, Stephen. Can never be said enough. So
I used to always wonder what to say with that. It's true. I appreciate it, but now I've an old Vietnam veteran just told me to say you're worth it. So I think that's better than, oh, you're welcome.
Well, thank you so much. And I love that response too. And I think a lot of us could integrate that response into a lot of different things that we do, to let people know why we do certain things that we do for them. So thank you for that. I think you tap into a great point here that we want to talk about with job seekers, is we tend to think very narrowly sometimes when we're approaching jobs. And you took transferable skills, not the ones that other people wanted to thrust upon you, but you dug a little deeper and you picked out the things that you enjoyed doing and transferred those to something else. Really, when you talk about operations management and recruiting, there may be some similarities, but really the similarities lie in the skills that you're using as opposed to the job titles themselves. And that's an important message for job seekers, to think outside the box and to think about different roles than the traditional ones that they may have thought of that could be great fits for them. And I especially loved how you called out recruiters that you emulated and people that you said the kind of work they do really would feed my soul and that would be great, right? And I love that you talked about having the place where your heart and your skills met. Right.
Mhm.
So, Stephen, when you're talking to people about people that are applying for jobs with you, right, that are applying at Mass Mutual and they have skills, but maybe they have not worked in, finance before. Talk to us a little bit about those people that would be good candidates for this job and that you might talk about drawing out those transferable skills for them. How does that work when you're having that conversation?
I find myself on the phone, almost pumping somebody up and convincing them that it is inside them, although they might not work in the financial services industry. As long as you have an entrepreneurial spirit, a willingness to network, not that you have to be extroverted as a financial agent,
Right.
but it helps. It's
Sure.
gonna help your business. As long as you're able, if you have experience in sales, it's going to lend itself to a lot of success in this role. So I would say anyone who's a self-starter, you might want to be an entrepreneur, but you don't have the capital to start your own LLC. This is a great way to start your own business and gain some incredible business contacts along the way.
So what do you talk to people about? I think one of the barriers to a lot of people is that feeling of independence and having to create their own income for some of that. So how do you talk to people about breaking down those barriers, about the skills they need to overcome those fears? What kind of skills are you looking for in that next candidate that would make them successful in that role?
Honestly, the most important thing I look for is someone who's overcome some obstacles, whether that in their life or in their professional career. Because if you can get hit in the mouth and get back up, you're gonna make a great financial agent. And I look for resilient, optimistic people who can bounce back.
And I think our job market right now is full of those people,
Mhm.
people that have been out of work a long time. Or I also have talked to a couple of people who lost their jobs, say back in March or April, got new jobs, and then those jobs went away too because of the
Geez.
economic fallout. So some people have really been through a lot. And let me ask you this, because I think the next question then is, what type of training do people get in these roles? What kind of training, if they've never done it before, what might
Mhm.
they expect?
So within your first 3 months, you're going to be partnered with a senior financial advisor, one of our sales managers in either our Buffalo, Syracuse, and Rochester offices, and you're going to get mentorship and guidance along the way. This is not a role, if you're inexperienced, where you can jump right in. You have to pass your license. You have to attain a license to do this type of work. So you will not be alone in this career.
So, Stephen, when you're talking to job seekers and they're calling you and you're trying to figure out, if they're appropriate for this kind of role or not, what would be maybe one or two tips that you would give people to make their communications more effective with you?
For the candidates, I would say it's always great when you are communicative, and even if you're not interested in this role, just the fact that you have questions available, you're not just jumping on the proposal to the interview. It shows a lot of maturity when you're asking questions about the role and about the culture of the company and what those first 3 months would look like. That's really impressive to me. It shows that you have the foresight to realize and to try to envision yourself in the role. And to ask about the company culture that's exactly what we're trying to do, is bring in people who fit our supportive, civic-minded culture. And if you're already asking about that as I call you, then that's definitely a leg up.
So as a professional resume writer and career coach, I always ask this question when I'm talking to recruiters. What is the biggest resume mistake that you see, Stephen? What, when you see it on there, may prevent you from calling somebody, right, that might otherwise be a good candidate for that opportunity? What is this that you see and you go, oh, no, not this?
I would say copy and pasted job descriptions into the resume.
Yeah.
I understand that's what you were hired to do in this role, but give me some quantifiable metrics or a system that you improved sales revenue that you increased over a quarter of time. Give us some numbers. That helps a lot. It's easy. It's the easy answer to copy and paste a job description from your company website into your resume, but that doesn't say much. That's a general overview. But what were your specific, quantifiable accomplishments in the role? And that's going to make you stand out.
Well, it's all about value, isn't it? It's about being able to own and create, or to create the value, to own the value, and to communicate it. And really, copying and pasting job descriptions, that is how many of us were brought up 20 years ago, right? And I could go back long farther than that I've been working, and that was acceptable. The world was different then. Now we're talking about employers looking to understand your value before they even speak with you. Give them a taste of it. And also, we're going to touch on this a little bit, but keywords are important, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not just for online applications, and for anyone that I've spoken to, or you've heard me speak, or you've been in other contexts, ATS, applicant tracking software, those keyword searches, that is the name of the game today with applying online. So talk to us a little bit. I mean, I know candidates come to you, they probably reach out on LinkedIn, you get them in social situations. I know you're very well networked in the community, and I'm sure you get them a lot that way, but you also search for candidates on LinkedIn, don't you? Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Sure. Honestly, I use the Boolean keyword searches. I look for sales experience. I look for finance. I even look at the interests at the bottom of your LinkedIn page. Are you interested in financial any Northwestern Mutuals, AXA Advisors, Alliance Advisory, Mass Mutual? I look at your interests and I look at what you're posting, and I kind of use that to gauge whether or not it's worth your time for me to call you.
You should consider LinkedIn an informal job interview. And that's what I hear you saying. Everything that's on there, from your interest to your experience, to that skills section, to that really critical about section. Mm-hmm. Most people don't know that you have 2,600 characters, not words, characters to use in that about section to help tell your story. Mm-hmm. Right? And that can help attract better attention, because your LinkedIn should be working for you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Right? Go in there. I will also, when we post this in the comment section, I'll post LinkedIn's information about Boolean searches. For those of you that don't know it, Stephen mentioned it, and it really helps you bring back better results if you're searching in that manner. And I'll put a link on there for those of you that do not. Mm-hmm. One thing I did want to ask you about, you are very heavily networked in this area. You really have leaned into that. And I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because I think that's the last thing that people want to do sometimes. So if you had one place maybe that you'd like to recommend people start, whether it's in the Buffalo area or not, just something general, what might you advise people to do to get started the first time with networking without trying to be overwhelmed by it?
I will give, I'll answer two organizations. BN360 is geared for young professionals. They have at least one programming event a month. Even throughout COVID, they've done that. Typically, it's 2 events a month, but incredible. There's always events focused on professional development. They have, groups of speakers who come in to talk about their own journeys, and there's always devoted networking time at the beginning of the event. So BN360, and I believe Buffalo Niagara Partnership also does the Leaders Exchange for folks who are a little more senior in their careers. And if you're looking for something that's free, the Young Nonprofit Professionals Network, which you don't have to be in nonprofit, you can just volunteer for a nonprofit, but they have free coffee power hours that are very well attended, free through Eventbrite. And I can post that in the comments of this video if you're interested.
Well, I would also tell people that, Stephen's mentioning things here in the Buffalo, New York area, but change out Buffalo and put in other cities. Put in Pittsburgh, put in Boston, put in Philadelphia. I have clients all over the country, and that's exactly what I do when I'm looking to help giving them resources about networking. Every city has them. So it doesn't have to be limited to here. They all have where you can have paid memberships and you can have free ones. Right now, many of them are on Zoom, but I know that they're all very anxious to get back into that personal meeting space as well. So, Stephen, to end our interview, how would you like people to reach out to you if they're interested in the jobs that you have open? If they're thinking, maybe I should talk to him a little bit, how would you recommend that it's best to get in touch with you to start beginning that conversation?
You can email me at Stephen Lutter, so first name, last name, at financialguide.com. Or you can call my direct line, which I'm looking at it. I don't have it memorized. 716-817-6652. Again, 716-817-6652. And I'd be happy to speak with you. Or reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I'll provide you my cell phone number.
Okay, well, we're going to show all those at the end of the video, and then we'll also drop them in the comment section so that people can reach out to you there. But you're very accessible, so that if people are interested or want to talk more about what you've talked about today, they can either just drop a comment in the comment section and one of us will answer it, or if they want to talk to you personally about those opportunities, do not hesitate to reach out. Stephen is very open and welcoming, and if it's not the right alignment, he'll tell you so.
Will do, and happy to help. I just want to see anyone who's, especially like mothers and fathers right now with children, I just want to see people getting back to work regardless. So ideally, I'd love to have you here at Mass Mutual, but if that's not a fit, I'm not going to force it, force a square peg in a round hole. I'd love to help you in any capacity, even if that's just endorsing you for skills on LinkedIn, however I can help. So.
All right. Well, thank you. So thank you, Stephen, for your time today. Stephen from Mass Mutual, Talent Acquisition Manager for the New York State area. We appreciate your coming on today and sharing your thoughts with us and some insight into the world of recruiting and how people can best move forward with that relationship with recruiters to tap into those jobs. Thank you so very much for joining us today, and I appreciate your time. And job seekers, reach out to Stephen if you have any questions.
Will do. Thank you, Kathy, for having me, and live inspired, I believe is the motto, right?
It is, and that's how I end. Live inspired is right. Thank you.
Love that.
Thanks, Stephen. Thank you all.
Okay. All right. Thank you.